Boys and girls, cats and dogs, giraffes, elephants, and zebras, we're back! Actually, not zebras. I don't want no referees in my chat. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Free Refill. Here we are on Primetime with Philip White. We got episode 51, baby. We got some big stuff. As of 30 minutes ago, officially confirmed, we've got Kyler Murray officially becoming a Viking. We still gotta fully dive into all of the aftermath of the Max Crosby Ravens trade and the Ravens backing out of said trade. We gotta get into all of the nitty-gritty details there. Of course, 2 nights ago, a maybe incredible performance, depending on who you ask. Certainly some controversy in Bam's 83-point game. I'm gonna be talking about it, giving my personal opinion out there, even though nobody necessarily wants to hear it, but they're gonna hear it anyway. And then lastly, I gotta talk a little bit about the lead up to March Madness. Miami of Ohio losing their first game of the season. How will it affect their tournament standings? What is the projected March Madness bracket gonna look like? And then I believe the selection process is the 15th, so that is Sunday. So we're gonna end up knowing what all the matchups are, hopefully by that Monday, for the next episode of Free Refill. So I'm very excited for that. I hope you guys are just as excited as I am, because my goodness, we got some stuff to get into. First of all, thank you guys for showing up. If you guys are watching, always make sure that you guys are clicking that little subscribe button for me, hitting that like button. It seriously helps me out a ton. And it keeps me going, man. You know how much a little like button does for my ego? Oh my god, I'm good for like a month, baby. I'm good for a month. Trust me, I just keep feeding myself anyway, so I infinitely survive. For starters, the final, well, I want to call it the final, but it kind of feels like the final quarterback domino of 2026 NFL free agency has officially landed. It is the official, Kyler Murray is now a Minnesota Viking. He's a little bit taller in this picture than I would have thought, but he really shouldn't be matching me. Maybe he is. Maybe we're both like 6 feet. I kind of doubt. I kind of doubt. I might have a little bit. I might have the slight jump on Kyler. But regardless, Kyler Murray is now a Minnesota Viking. He will be teaming up with Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hawkinson and Kevin O'Connell and Aaron Jones on the Minnesota Vikings, which kind of spells almost the proverbial closing of the door of the 9/JJ McCarthy era in Minnesota. The Vikings have made it very clear, JJ, you're kind of booty right now. Kind of didn't play well last year. Certainly didn't live up to not even expectations, but just did not have a even adequate season by even debatably rookie standards. I mean, he played like a rookie. It makes sense. But for a Vikings team that really needs to be a lot closer to winning a championship than developing a quarterback, Kyler Murray, I think, is an overall better option for them if they want to have a better shot of putting up offense. And, I mean, listen, Justin Jefferson had by far one of his worst seasons we've seen him have, and it was under J.J. McCarthy, and we know what Justin Jefferson is capable of. So, if you are the Minnesota Vikings, seeing this trade happen, or seeing J.J. McCarthy over the last year, it was kind of clear that you've got too talented of a roster. I mean, when you really think about it, the Vikings were 9-8, weren't even last in the division, despite the disappointing quarterback play that they had. So, if you're Minnesota, you had to make a move for a quarterback. Kyler ultimately is the one with the highest ceiling, and because, listen, Kevin O'Connell's gotten a lot out of the quarterbacks that he has started, seemingly J.J. McCarthy is the anomaly there so far. So it might be possible that they might be able to get more out of Kyler Murray, might be able to have more of a shot in the NFC North. But they could not go into next season with just J.J. McCarthy on the roster as their quarterback, simply because, listen, if they did, they would be admitting to themselves that, nope, we can still do this, or rather not even admitting, just living in a state of delusion where, oh, we can definitely make it far, win a real playoff game with J.J. McCarthy, which we don't. Clearly right now, you can't. JJ's not there. Either JJ's not fully developed, or the Vikings want to try to look to develop him further. That's a possibility. Or really, they're just kind of admitting, listen, we don't have the time to sit around and hope J.J. McCarthy gets better. So they made a move. They went out and got Kyler at, I didn't see the full contract amount. I know it's a 1-year deal. I don't know if it's a vet minimum off the top of my head because I didn't see that fully. But I mean, listen, it couldn't be for that much. The one thing I found very unique about this contract that I haven't really, maybe it may be in other contracts, but it's not nearly as highlighted as much, is that in this deal for Kyler Murray, it's a 1-year contract. He will be a free agent in 2027, but the one key aspect, at least of notice for me, is, there's a no tag clause. So Kyler Murray at this point now is not only on a 1-year deal, but he's also on a 1-year deal where it's like, well, okay, hold on. Kyler doesn't, like, the Vikings can't franchise tag him if he has a good year. That's essentially the point. There's no way for them to tag him if he has just one good season. Yeah, it's going to be 1.3 million of the 36.8 Murray had already been guaranteed via his contract with the Cardinals. So yeah, they're paying him next to nothing. Kyler sort of is essentially playing a prove-it deal. But also, he's playing a prove-it deal in the sense where if he does prove it, he needs to get more than just the tag. So that's going to be interesting to see. I always find it fascinating when quarterbacks try to bet on themselves. It's usually, from what I've at least seen over the last decade, has generally been a 50-50 split. Some work and some don't, and it's for varying reasons of why they work and why they don't. But I think for Kyler Murray, this is a great opportunity to try to reset himself. I mean, you're going to you're getting one of the best wide receivers in the league. You're getting one of the best offensive coaches in the league. You're going to be getting a good enough defense that is going to get you more possessions and opportunities to put up points. I think it's a huge opportunity for Kyler overall. And I think at the end of the day, this is something that I would be excited for personally, right? I'd be excited for this if I'm Kyler Murray. I'm going out there and saying, listen, this is a real opportunity for me to reset my career and to potentially get another big contract. And I mean, I'm surprised he was able to sneak in the no tag clause as it was. But it makes sense from all parties. Minnesota needed an upgrade from McCarthy. Kyler Murray was going to get out of Arizona anyway. Now, the real question is, I guess if you're the Vikings, you finished third last year. The question is, are the Vikings any better than, say, Green Bay, Chicago, Detroit? My personal opinion, no. I mean, Kyler right now is still as good as he is, as high of a ceiling he is. Let's put that. As high of a ceiling Kyler has, I still think the floor of someone like Jared Goff is much higher. I think the ceiling of Caleb Williams and Jordan Love's are also much higher. I think their floors could arguably be slightly lower, at least in Caleb's case. But still, it's tough to say this as a Vikings kind of enthusiast, not really like a fan, but I think they're interesting overall. If you have the Minnesota Vikings right now and you still look at them, they have a good roster, but not much has changed in terms of the positioning of where the quarterbacks rank. No one, I think people would maybe take Kyler over someone like Jared Goff simply for the upside. But if you're being completely honest, the Vikings still have the fourth best quarterback in the division. Are they better? Could they get to 11 wins with Kyler as opposed to just settling for 9 with JJ McCarthy? Yeah, and 11 wins should be enough to get you into the playoffs in some capacity. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, is Kyler Murray going to A, be healthy, and be better than he was in Arizona? Is he going to be able to reset himself, look like the guy we saw really in 2021, which was probably his career year? That was 5 years ago. So now Kyler Murray has to make a decision. Is it going to be any different? Is it going to be any different? I would hope so. I really would. I would hope that some sort of difference is made. But if it's not, then you run into the problems that you've had before. So I hope he's able to turn it around. I really do, because I just don't like bad quarterback play. I mean, I've been pretty adamant on that point. Having bad quarterback play is just such an exhausting feat. It's like having to deal with a third, even 4 teams in the league having bad quarterbacks. Just like you can't, they become unwatchable at a certain point, because you just look at the Jets. The Jets were unwatchable for the entire month of December. And probably for like large chunks of November too. Like it's just the league's better with good quarterback play. It just is. So hopefully Kyler can turn it around with the Minnesota Vikings. And again, best opportunity to do it. I don't think he was going to ever do it with the Jets. There was a very unlikely chance he was ever going to do it in like a place like Cleveland. Maybe Atlanta could have been also the other option that would have been nice, but Minnesota was just the more realistic option because, I mean, listen, Atlanta are, especially after Atlanta chose Tua over Kyler. Yeah, so Kyler's going to be a Viking. Should be interesting to see what pans out there with him, with Kevin O'Connell. And maybe, who knows, maybe Justin Jefferson will be reasonably draftable this year because obviously I think honestly what could be interesting is Justin Jefferson could be a steal later in the draft, in fantasy draft specifically because, obviously teams who took him this year got burned by J.J. McCarthy not being good, just not throwing him the ball well. Now you have Kyler. Justin Jefferson, if he's falling into second rounds, and obviously it's very early to be talking fantasy football, but if he does fall to second rounds, could be a low-key steal. We'd have to see, though. We'd have to see. It would be interesting. All right. Moving past Kyler Murray, he's going to be a Viking. It should be... I hope it works out. I hope for Vikings fans' sake, it works out, because having to stomach a whole season of J.J. McCarthy must have been painful. The second big topic I got to get into, and of course, we're already 2 days past it, and I did acknowledge it on Tuesday when we did talk about it, was specifically the Ravens backing out of the Max Crosby deal. Obviously, we now know that the Ravens originally traded for Max Crosby as of Friday, and then we waited a whole weekend, and then it came to Tuesday that the Ravens have decided to back out of the deal that after Crosby had failed a physical, the Baltimore Ravens lacked significant interest in wanting to keep him. They said, whoa, we don't want to make this trade, we're going to back out. First of all, I don't like it just because if you ever did that, like there were so many memes, if you ever did this in fantasy football, oh my gosh, I think you're kicked from the league, personally, if you make that decision. If you're trying to back out of a trade, nah, I think you're usually done in that regard. But the one thing that comes across as bizarre to me, and not even bizarre, but of course there's conspiracy theorists, right? Oh, did the Ravens do this because they knew they had Trey Hendrickson waiting in the wings? Did they do this because they wanted to try to get Tyler Linderbaum and wanted to mess with the Raiders' contract situations? I think both are kind of, they're interesting like thoughts, but after about 5-10 minutes of thought about it, it really doesn't make a lot of sense. Starting with the Trey Hendrickson one, I don't think Trey is a better player than Max. Like, yeah, you get Trey Hendrickson maybe, at a cheaper cost. But I mean, still, 4 years, $112 million for an older pass rusher that was less productive last year, right? Doesn't scream that that's like a great get for Baltimore anyway. And there were reports coming out that Baltimore wanted to try to pair them together, that they would have liked to get both Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson, which could have actually been genuinely scary. But I mean, it's pretty much a consensus that Max Crosby is a better player than Trey Hendrickson at his position. Max Crosby pressures significantly more. He plays much better in the run game than Trey does. Yeah, Trey might be able to get has gotten more sacks individually, but in terms of affecting games, Max Crosby's more of a threat there. And where Max Crosby goes is going to be an interesting thing to look at as well. But I just don't see that scenario that, they knew they were going to get Trey Hendrickson, so they backed out of the Crosby trade. I got to be honest, I think Baltimore would have wanted to do that. You could argue, if someone overpaid, underpaid, but I think 2 first-rounders for someone like as generationally good as Max is, who's, pretty much a top 5 pass rusher to almost anybody who's watched sports at this point, then it doesn't make sense to have the conspiracy that, they knew they were going to have Trey, because Trey's not a better player. Trey's only an equivalent pass rusher and a significantly worse run defender. So I think the logic that they didn't want Max because they knew they had Trey doesn't make sense. And I think the logic that they wanted to screw with the Raiders' contracts makes even less sense. Because even if, let's say, you screwed around and all of a sudden the Raiders can't sign Tyler Linderbaum to your roster, that doesn't stop another team from just straight up outbidding you and getting that center on their team anyway. Like, what if Buffalo just said, all right, well, we'll take Linderbaum, or someone else wants to go out and give Linderbaum a big contract. Say, like, the New York Jets pay him enough money, right? At a certain point, like, someone was going to, it just means that Linderbaum may reset the market slightly more. So I don't think that was the Ravens' plan, even if it was. Like, there's no guarantee that it even works, so it's silly to kind of suggest that. To suggest that, oh, you know, they were messing with the Raiders' contracts. They wanted, like, Eric Stokes or whatever. Like, no, that's not what their plan was. So, to me, it just comes down to, you know what? The physical came up, Max didn't pass it, and Baltimore wanted to play their cards right and said, listen, we have our right to back out of the deal. We're going to back out of the deal. And maybe Eric DeCosta, maybe he is heartbroken. You know, maybe he is heartbroken that this deal didn't go through, that it didn't work out. But I'm not here to determine that. I just think the conspiracy of the whole Max Crosby deal, it's fun to think about in theory, but ultimately it's just unlikely what happened. And Baltimore getting Trey Hendrickson, as I mentioned, it feels worse. Like, I get it. You'll keep your first-round picks, but ultimately, if you have the opportunity to get one of the best pass rushers in the game in Max Crosby, to not land him, that's a big yikes. That's a big problem. And then now we're talking the Raiders, right? So now the Raiders could still look to shop Max. They could still look to trade him. Dallas and Chicago, of course, were names that were mentioned that could potentially go out and get him. But at this current juncture, and who knows, maybe the Raiders end up keeping him. I've even heard like some other weird conspiracies too, where it's like Tom Brady did something crazy. I doubt it. I really do. But here's what I'll say. In regards, if you're honestly, and here's the weird thing. The weird thing now is, if you're like, say, the Raiders, and you're not even the Raiders, if you're Max Crosby, you look at the Raiders today versus when they traded him, they're a much better team. Like, within 5 days, the Raiders are better. They added one of the best centers in the league. They added Jalen Naylor to add depth at the wide receiver position, right? They're a much better team now on Thursday, and even when this trade was backed out of on Tuesday, than they were when they traded him Friday. So the reality here is the Raiders are going to be an interesting watch. I think they're going to be interesting just to see if you're, say, a Max Crosby. If you're like a Chicago or Dallas, they might trade him. But the other issue now you run into is, if health is really a concern, like let's say, if health is really a concern for Max, do teams not match Baltimore's offer of 2 first-round picks? Because if you're the Raiders, I mean, you just traded Max for 2 first-round picks. I think backing out of the trade negatively affects Baltimore more so than anybody else. I think teams would be very hesitant, almost, or maybe even adamant, to say, we're not going to trade with Baltimore, or we don't feel comfortable trading with Baltimore based on what happened with the Crosby deal, right? Why would we want to trade with a team if there's risk that they might back out days after we've already done these contracts? So I definitely think, especially reports at the Raiders side of things, the Raiders general manager was pissed. Their whole scouting department, like just the people who are doing these contracts, kind of annoyed. So I'd have to imagine that, yeah, from the Raiders' perspective, they're upset. From the rest of the league, can you really trust going through on a trade with Baltimore? It's going to be in the future. I think those kind of trades are going to be tougher for Baltimore to come by, just because now there's oh, look at this, you backed out of this deal. Especially, it would have been one thing if they backed out within like 24 hours. It's a completely another thing to back out in the middle of free agency when all this was happening. So I definitely think it reflects poorly on the Ravens. And listen, I think they'll have trouble finding teams that want to actively trade, or they may have having to oversell or overpay rather, just to try to get teams to trade with them again. Because I would, if I am any team that is anybody, I would be very concerned about making a deal with the Baltimore Ravens right now. Because again, why would you? Why would you at this point? We'll see what the Raiders do. In my personal opinion, If I'm Max, I would maybe try giving it a shot with the Raiders again. I mean, I understand that they are definitely in a rebuild. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, that wasn't Max's problem to start with, right? And I think now when you look at the moves that this new organ that Clint Kubiak specifically is making, he's saying, listen, we can figure this out and try to stick you around, because it's not like you're dealing with Pete Carroll again, or the coaching staff that did bench you and stop you from playing the rest of the season, right? You now have a new coaching staff in Clint Kubiak. Why not go ahead and say, hey, maybe we can work something out. Maybe we can stick around. So I think it's certainly possible to say that Max will stay. If I'm the Raiders, I would kind of like to move him, try to get a first-round pick. But I'm going to be honest, I don't know if anybody else is going to match what the Baltimore Ravens were matching. Because Dallas was very adamant they were staying with a first and a second-round pick. I don't have a whole lot of reports of what exactly the Bears were offering. But I don't know if you're going to get any better of an offer than 2 firsts, especially after all this weird stuff that's going on with this trade deal. So I would probably say, if I were the Raiders, try to stick to keeping Max on the roster moving forward. But outside of that, those were the main 2 NFL free agency things that went down. Kyler Murray, of course, becoming a Viking, and the Ravens backing out of the Max Crosby deal. The two really big headlines, of course, a couple of days ago, none other than Mr. Bam Adebayo himself. The 83-point game. Bam, of course, against the Washington Wizards, had a Herculean performance. I mean, we'll definitely say one of those performances that is going to be remembered for a long time to come. And, of course, anything like this, because the NBA, no one can be happy about anything. Everyone wants, there's just that wee itty-bitty little bit of controversy that comes in with, of course, Bam dropping 83. And, of course, everyone's asking the question, everyone's debating, is it ethical? You've got so many people saying, oh, stop complaining, it's 83 points. You got other people talking, saying 43 free throws is ridiculous. There's definitely some truth on both sides, as there usually is. I will give my take. Not that anybody really needs to know, but I got my take on it. Was this ethical? By definition, and in my opinion, no, it was not. But there's only one reason as to why I deem it unethical. The main reason that I've seen a lot of people float around about why it's unethical is the strict fact that Bam needed 43 free throws. Okay? First off, if you watched the Wizards, number one, their defense was atrocious. And number two, they had to constantly play hack-a-Bam after he got 31. So if you're a team, right, and Bam already, keep in mind, Bam had 31 going into the second quarter. He had 31 points in the first quarter of the game. The Washington Wizards did not play good defense. They just didn't. They didn't play very good defense. Alex Sarr had no idea what he was doing on a majority of these plays. And ultimately, when you're a physical player like Bam, and they were hacking as much as they were, the Wizards, yeah, 43 free throws, it was a lot. It certainly is a lot. But to act there and sit like, well, number one, free throws are still very much a part of the game. And number two, Washington did not remotely play good defense for the majority of the game. So I'm not really going to account for the free throws. I think at the end of the day, free throws are a part of the game. You want to get mad at those? Get mad at Washington for not being able to play adequate enough defense where they weren't able to foul. I went back and watched the entirety of those highlights. There were at absolute maximum about 4 fouls that I don't think should have been called. And I think even 2 of those were debatable. So, free throw wise, say what you want, but everybody's going to complain about free throws. I mean, we complain about Shea getting 18. We're going to end up complaining a lot more about Bam getting 43, right? Now on to the second reason it was deemed unethical. Bam Adebayo stayed in the game for the Heat when the game was pretty much put away. I'm going to be honest, and I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't think it is. I really don't. I think if you've got a guy through, let's say, 3 quarters is at like 60 or like 65 or like even a high number, even something is say like 50, I would say, hey, do you want to keep playing? I'm the coach. If I'm the coach, let me emphasize that. If I'm the coach, I'm pulling my guy aside at the end of the third. I'm saying, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to rest the fourth or do you want to go chase history? If I'm a coach, I'm asking my player that. Because that, to me, first of all, is a player's decision, but ultimately something that I would want to strive for. I want players going out, breaking records. I don't get why it's discouraged for guys to go out and play late in games of blowouts and try to go and get more points. Listen, if they're not going to play defense, that's on the other team. That's on the other team for not having a sense of pride. But you can't get mad at somebody who does have a sense of pride and wants to show what they can do to their absolute fullest and going out and putting up something like 80 plus points. That you can't be mad at. I don't get why people would ever be mad at someone trying to go out there and put up an absolute show, to put up as many points as they possibly can. I don't get what part of that is ethical. All those points where you have like Embiid stepping out after 3 quarters, putting up 60, or like Steph Curry doing this, Booker doing this, any of those other guys who have stepped out of those 3 quarters, if that was their choice, fine. But in my opinion, I want those guys to go in and run up the score. I want them to get in the face of the other team because that, to me, listen, there's a certain sense of pride that needs to kick in with an athlete. Like if you're an athlete, you don't want other athletes completely yamming all over you and dropping 40 on your head, right? So get a sense of pride and start, I don't know, playing some defense. And if I'm coaches, I want my guys playing. I want my guys going out and trying to make history and put up as much as points they can. So I'm not going to fault Bam nor Spoelstra for having him play late in the game. Guys should go out and want to chase history. That's not the part I think that's unethical. The part to me that makes this unethical is not the free throws. It's not playing in the fourth. It was the final 2 minutes of the game. The final 2 minutes of the game where the Heat were trying to miss free throws and then foul right away to get the ball back faster for Bam, that, to me, is the unethical part. It's the only unethical part, but it is a big part to me that I think does make it unethical. If you're going to go out and score 80 points, play the natural feel of the game. That's where I take issue. I think if you're going to hit that number, it needs to come with the natural flow of the game. If it's a blowout, it is what it is, right? If I have a running back who's in the game at 292 yards, I'm going to run the ball with him and try to get those yards. That being said, I'm not going to try to commit defensive pass interference if I'm on the defensive side of the ball to get my opponent down to the 1 so they can score and then try to get the ball back. I'm not going to go out of my way to do that in an NFL game. And it felt like that was the equivalent of what was happening in this game. To be bricking free throws and immediately fouling just to get the ball back to break the record, that to me is the raw unethical part. I don't have an issue with the free throws themselves. I don't have an issue with him playing late in the game of a blowout. I have an issue with the way they went about trying to get him the ball late in the game. That, to me, felt ultimately about the unethical part. And I mean, for the most part, if they hadn't done that and he had just had 75 or whatever, came up short, then sure. Then there's a different story there. But I don't think that's how you should be chasing whether it's a 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110 point game. I don't think that's how you should be going about getting it. I have no issue with guys playing late into the game, but going about it trying to circumnavigate the general rules of basketball just to try to get more possessions, whack. That part was whack. Because you wouldn't be doing that in a close game, right? The way I say it is, don't do something you wouldn't do in a close game. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I think that from there, though, I think that's the part that makes it unethical. I think any other argument to making it unethical is it's kind of lame. I'm going to be honest. I think free throw attempts, with the way the Wizards are playing defense, the majority of them were warranted. And when you look at playing late into a blowout, I wish players did that more. I wish players tried to chase more history, and unfortunately, they just don't do it as much. It's a darn shame. I think we should be wanting, like, I would want to see how high can you go? How much can you absolutely dog walk another team? Do it. Get those guys to get some pride. Grow a set of nuts. Like, let's go. It's the NBA. It's not like what's it called? Not K through 12 hoops, right? Like it's the National Basketball Association. Grow a set of nuts and start putting up points. That's how this works. It's just a darn shame that that's what it's come to, and it's absurd to me. It's absurd to me that that's the logic. Ultimately, a slightly unethical performance. That being said, at the end of the day, objectively, I still think it's cool. I still think it's cool that Bam, of all people, Bam Adebayo was the one to put up 83 points. I think the stat line just looks crazy insane. I think at the end of the day, it's still cool. You want to debate about ethics? Fine. But I'm all a fan of when players break records. I thought this one was cool to see. I thought it was cool to see someone drop 83. Whether it was Bam, whether it would have been LeBron or Kobe coming back from the dead to do it, whether it would have been Mac McClung coming out of the G League to do it. You know? Speaking of, Mac McClung Mac McClung had a crazy G League game recently, like 50 points. I think it was 54-point double-double, and yet still lost the game. That's tough. That being said, and at the end of the day, I'll say this, when we talk about whether it's ethical or not, does it even matter? Like, people want to have this argument of does it truly matter if it's unethical? Because we can sit back and forth for all of eternity, like debating things that are what players are ethical, or debating who's the biggest flopper, or debating this or debating that about like finding a way. You can easily find a way to discredit any single individual player's accomplishments. You could sit there for hours making a video essay about it, and it wouldn't matter. It would only matter to people who already had that opinion. You know what I mean? Like, what does it do? It's kind of whatever. Anyway, I don't know. Ultimate moral of the story, slightly unethical, but I still thought it was awesome to see. That's what I'd go with. One other thing, in terms of the basketball world, outside of Bam Adebayo's 83 points, there was a big team that took a big loss today in the MAC tournament in the first round, and that was none other than Miami of Ohio losing to UMass in the final moments. An unfortunate bad turnover by Miami led to some clutch free throws from UMass, and they were able to down Miami of Ohio for the first time all season. After going 31-0, they lose in the first matchup that they find. And I gotta say, there's going to, and this is another one where it's going to be a bunch of discourse, a bunch of people chatting about, well, man, they lost. Should Miami of Ohio be in? Yeah, can we, not with the whole, should Miami of Ohio be in? Miami of Ohio should still be in the tournament, and it bugs me that there will be some schnobs from Auburn saying, well, I don't know, maybe they shouldn't be in. They were 31-0. They're going to get a tournament bid. I think the loss will definitely impact their seed. It'll definitely impact their seeding, but overall, they should be there. It's ridiculous to suggest that. They were 31-0. There's only, 4-5 other college basketball teams that have been undefeated through the regular season, and we're going to sit here and act like, yeah, no, they shouldn't have a tournament bid. Like, the logic of people who are saying, well, their schedule wasn't good enough, and maybe, all this means, Miami's loss basically only means that just some other bubble team is done, because they're locks. At this point, it should feel like they are locks at this point, despite the crummy schedule that they had. Miami of Ohio should be in. They just should be. You went 31-0. If you think they had a weak schedule, let them go prove it in the tournament. If you think they had a weak schedule, you should want them in the tournament so they lose round one, and then you can go, see, shouldn't have been there. But if you're going to sit here and say they shouldn't be there at all, who does that benefit? Everybody should want this team in the tournament, whether you think they deserve to be or whether you think they don't. That's the whole point. That is the whole point of the March Madness bracket. You're like, oh, well, they shouldn't be there. Well, like, all right, we'll find out. We'll find out if they don't deserve to be there because they'll play a team and get throttled, right? That would be the logic. I think they deserve to be there, though. The way that they played the majority of the regular season, 100%, I think they should deserve to be there purely based off the 31-0 alone. And yet we got, what's his name? What's the Auburn guy? What's the Auburn Nepo coach that I can't think of right now? Like the Appa, whatever. It's irrelevant. His name doesn't matter. The point is that it's a ridiculous take. It's just a nepotism, goofy, I don't listen, man. I got connections to Auburn, therefore I think other universities are trash and Auburn should be in. Brother, your basketball team should just be better then. I don't know what to tell you. You're going to sit here and tell me a team that only lost one game all year shouldn't be in the tournament? Go eat shirts, man. Go eat a fart. Go eat my dog's poop that he pooped up earlier today. Like, just go. It's still there. I had to clean it up when I got home. It's still there in the trash for you. Go ahead and gobble, gobble. Yum, 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 yum. You love dog water. You love dog shit takes so much. Then just go ahead. It's right there. There's one sitting there. It just bothers me that this idea that there's so many media pundits that are out there in the sports world that don't know what they're talking about. This team should be in. End of story. And yet they're gonna try to say, I don't know. Shut up. Like I feel like what? Next thing I know, what? Stephen A is gonna say something garbage or like Skip Bayless. I still can't believe how many of these like media people are out there giving these takes and they're making bank. They make bank off of giving us garbage. Yeah, sure, I produce garbage sometimes, but I don't make a penny. I don't make a penny off of producing some of the garbage that I produce. But yet, they make millions of dollars spewing trash. I don't know. This is one of those things that bothers me, though. Like, there's so much press and negative publicity about Miami for no reason. For no reason other than the fact that you got a bunch of bums in television right now. Doesn't make any sense. Regardless, it is what it is. Wow, that was quick. I guess I've had a long day. You know what? Honestly, the reason why I wanted this to be short is that coming home to literal dog crap did not help my day. It just didn't. It did not help my day. I came home, I took a shower. I didn't even see it until I was out of the shower, completely just butt naked, and I'm like, oh shoot, that's just crap. And there it was. Other weird things I want to talk about. Oh, how about this? How about this for a weird one? Did anyone else see this? Dwight Howard retired, like officially. Did anyone else not think that he was retired like at least 3 years ago? Because I mean, who's he been playing for? Dwight Howard announced his retirement today, yet we're still like that. Felt like, I'm not gonna lie, I thought Dwight's been retired. Like he hasn't played since what, 20? Dog, the Taiwan Leopards. He hasn't played basketball in 4 years. He's like, oh guys, I'm retiring now. You've been retired. Don't be trying to say you retired now. You've been done. You've been done for 4 years. Why am I just now hearing, oh yeah, guess what guys? Dwight Howard officially announced it. Buh. Dog, you been done. What else you been doing? Where else you been? I honestly thought it was years ago, but apparently no. It was just now today officially. Dwight Howard announced his retirement. I mean that was tonight. Ivica Zubac set to make Pacers debut. You know what bothers me too? Of course, it's against my Suns. Why in the world is it every time we go play a team? Guess what? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? It's Zubac. Oh my god! Meanwhile, we can't beat a Bulls team that, and I'm just rambling at this point. We can't even beat the Bulls when we had Colin Sexton all over our forehead. Like all of a sudden, nobody wants to tank when they're playing us. It's ridiculous. What are the games on tonight though? Already all through the games. Let's see. It's MLB spring training. Yeah, they're playing right now. Are they about to play? They've been playing since 7. I actually have no idea. Truth be told, I'm about to find out though. Because right now I just want to watch that. Because I swear, I swear on me none. Of course. Of course! This is, you know what? Also, I'm going to talk about this. The Dylan Brooks, this was a while ago. This was like last week, but the Dylan Brooks DUI story is just kind of hilarious. Because the way, I don't know if anyone's seen that whole video, but the way he's talking to the officers, that feels like just like he talks in the NBA, dude. It's low key hilarious. I'm sitting here like, what is he up to? What is he up to? Just looking there, like, what was it? He was asking him to like blow, like he was asking him, dude, come on, I can hit the breathalyzer, like let's go. Meanwhile, the cop's like, I kind of like, I'm pulling you over for weed. That's not gonna do anything. Just, I don't know. I thought it was hilarious. But I have a feeling that we're gonna lose this game tonight, mostly because Zubac is back, and also because anytime I expect anything out of the Phoenix Suns, they usually let me down. We're playing, what, 50 loss Indiana? Yeah, we're going to lose, guys. Here we go. Zubac's back, and we're playing a 50 loss team. It's over. We're done. Although I do like the way... oh, my gosh. Aguinaro. Why are we passing that? Anyway, I think that's all. I think I'm going to wrap it. I am tired. There wasn't a whole lot either. Most of the stuff... half the things even happened Tuesday, so it was really tough to cover them this late. Which is unfortunate. But you know what? That's all I have today for free refill episode 51. Shorter episode, but I'm willing to bet there will be more stuff to talk about come Monday, especially after the selection process goes through for March Madness. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun to discuss. Do a little bracket there, presuming that selection's complete and full. And I can do a little, get into that. So I appreciate you guys for watching. If you haven't subscribed, make sure, if you're watching right now, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you have. Make sure if you're watching right now, you go ahead and click the like button. Make sure you also have that bell on, so that way you guys don't miss any future live streams, uploads, any of that stuff. Anyway, I've been Philip White. This has been Free Refill episode 51, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya!